Hello, my fellow Met fans, my Met baseball way of lifers. How you doing? Yes, yes, yes. It's a big day today. Big day. Twice the fun, isn't it? We are going to have a two for Tuesday. Remember, I used to listen to classic rock stations all the time. Now I listen to everything on Sirius, but I remember it was always Tuesday was classic two for Tuesday on the stations I listened to. Yes, we'd get a double shot of Stones, The Who, The Beatles, Zeppelin. Well, today, Met fans, it's your two for Tuesday. It's a twofer against the Philadelphia Phillies, our favorite team from the city of brotherly love. Now, finally, we're going to play ball today, and it looks like weather will not be a factor. Yes, April showers do bring double headers, and today we have a double header. The game never had a chance getting off the ground yesterday, and Sunday was debacle having Stroman go out in the top of the first inning and even try to attempt to pitch that game. So the Mets are kind of behind the eight ball. They've only played 5 games. It's a lot of teams have played 8, 9, 10, 11 games already. So the Mets going to have a lot of doubleheader action. It wasn't their fault. It was the weather, and it was the Nationals with their COVID-19 protocols. But today we're ready to rock and roll, and it's going to be fun. In case you have tickets for today's game, you're getting two for the price of one. The first game's at 4 o'clock. In that game, Taiwan Walker will be going, and that should be fun. Then the nightcap is really, really intriguing. We got Aaron Noah going against Marcus Stroman. Stroman wasn't originally going to pitch in this series because after Sunday he said he's not doing anything different as far as the rotation was concerned, but he had a change of heart and he'll be going. Now, the good thing about this is they're going to have two guys basically who threw 6 solid innings last appearance. Now, I don't know if you're a fan of the 7 inning doubleheaders or the 9 inning doubleheaders. I'm not sure. But when it's a 7 inning doubleheader, you have your starters going out there. And if it's basically becomes a starter's game, a starter and a closer. So you have a starter like Stroman or Walker going at least 6 innings. You basically pitching a complete game, and then you just need either them to finish it up in the seventh or have your ace reliever come in and shut it down in the seventh inning if you have the lead. So I like our chances today. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Aaron. I always admire opponents and when they take the mound. So big fan of Aaron Nola, and intrigued. He pitched against us, beat us last time. He didn't pitch that great, but good enough to win. But he's always a nemesis, and you got to watch out for him. So we need to turn this thing around without a doubt. And like I said, what better way than to start tonight, right? Uh, I don't know what to say. I know a lot of Met fans are on edge. It's only 5 games, and I experience the same anxiety sometimes as you guys do. And I hope we're not panicking. I have a lot of hope for this organization, and I think maybe we can get it going today. Uh, the good thing is we always hit Phillies very, very well. They're pitching, and I would expect the same to happen today. Jeff McNeil is one guy you got to watch out for. If you're playing the 56 streak and the app where you got to try and get 56 consecutive games hitting, pretty cool app in baseball that MLB has. My choice for tonight, one of my choices, I always play two. I said, what the hell, go for two. I got Mike Trout as one, and I got Jeff McNeil as the other one. So we'll see how we do there. And the reason why I'm taking McNeil is he's lifetime 367, a 55 for 150 hitter against the Phillies, and his mark is the third highest against the Phillies among active players, minimum 100 at bats. You know that the Mets have two other players in their history who are tied for the highest batting average against the Philadelphia Phillies. That's going to be our trivia question. I'll give you the answer at the end, so make sure you stay tuned, lock in your answers, and I'll tell you who those two players are. They both batted 383 against the Phillies, and they're no longer active members of the Mets. That should be fun. Another guy I want to watch out for tonight, Dominic Smith. He's recorded a hit in all 4 games, and you know I love Dominic Smith, and you know I love Brandon Nimmo, and I'm so glad these guys are going to get the playing time they deserve. Now, since the start of 2019, Dominic Smith is batting 298 with a 362 OBP and a 569 slash line. Not too shabby. And that also resulted in 63 runs, 32 doubles, a triple, 22 homers, 70 RBIs, and 931 OPS in 143 games. my friends, those are all-star numbers. And Dominic, I never expected Dominic Smith to be that good. I know he was a high draft choice, but he kind of flew under the radar for me. I didn't think he was going to blossom into the hitter he did in the major leagues, and I'm so glad he did. And he eats up the Phillies too. In his 46 career games against the Phillies, he has a 356 on base percentage with a 569 slugging average. So that's good to see that we have Dominic in there. He has 23 extra base hits against Philly, his highest total against any team. And his 17 extra base hits since the start of 2019 are tied with Ronald Acuna Jr. against the Phillies. So Dominic loves his Phillies. And well, hopefully the Mets start hitting with runners in scoring position, because Uncle Stan is going to be Captain Obvious here and tell you a little something, a little inside baseball secret. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but I can sense my sarcasm coming through. But if you don't score with runners in position, don't score with runners in scoring position, you're just not going to win. And the Mets are batting 146 with 171 OPS with runners in scoring position this year. That is not good, my friends. And the 146 batting average ranks 29th in the majors and 14th in the National League. We got to start hitting with men on scoring base. But on the other hand, the team's 351 on base percentage and runner in scoring position is 7th in the National League and 13th in the majors. So we're getting on base, but we're just not hitting. And if you look at Brandon Nimmo, he's a walk machine. And he's one of the reasons why we have such a good on base percentage, considering we have such a horrible batting average. And Michael Conforto keeps getting hit by pitches. Nimmo gets hit by pitches. That all adds up. So at least we're getting on base. If we're not hitting, we're getting hit, or we're just not swinging. I'll take whatever we can get these days. Now, we've left over 10 runners on base in 3 of our 5 games this year. That's not going to cut the mustard. And overall, the team has 45 runners left on base so far in just 5 games. So that definitely has to improve. And like I said, Brandon Nimmo is the man. He is second in the majors with on-base percentage. His 565 on-base percentage is second in the majors, and it leads the National League. And I'll give you some more Nimmo stats that'll blow you out of the water. He safely reached base at least twice in all 5 games this season. Only 4 Mets have had a longer such streak to begin a season. David Wright, who holds the record with 10 straight to start the 2012 season. And if Nimmo reaches base today, he tied Jeff Francoeur, Frenchie. Remember Frenchie in 2010? Jose Canusi Reyes in 2007 and Mike Cameron in 2005 for second on the all-time list. So far this year, he's batting .412, 7 for 17 with 2 runs, 3 doubles, an RBI, and 6 walks, and a 565 on-base percentage, and a 1.153 OPS. I know he's not going to keep that up, but I think he's going to put up numbers that are going to knock his socks off this year. It wouldn't even surprise me if Nimmo makes the All-Star team. I mean, he just needs the pub and the attention that he deserves. And against lefties, remember we had him batting 8th on opening day because the lefty was on the mound? Well, he's 3 for 6 with a double and 2 walks against left-handed pitchers this year. And this is carried over since last year. He has reached base in 18 straight games dating back to September 11th last season. He's batting .375, 24 for 64 with 9 runs, 5 doubles, a triple, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, 13 walks, 487 on-base percentage, and a 1.065 OPS in that span. Not too shabby. Now, if you're talking about the Mets, we really can't blame the starting pitching. Well, you got Jacob deGrom right away. You got a head start right there. And they've been doing well. They've had 17 quality. The Mets had 17 quality starts in 2020, 9-8 in those games. As you recall, last year we just weren't pitching that well. Well, this year is a different story so far. We've already had 4 quality starts out of the 5 starts, and we have starters on a 3.00 ERA. Of course, Jacob deGrom really brings that down with 10 earned runs in 30 innings with 8 walks and 33 strikeouts. And we're hitting the ball. And again, we can thank Jacob deGrom for that. We're 3 for 10 this year, and that leads the majors. So I know we don't have the DH. We all wanted the DH, but pitchers are holding their own so far. Hopefully they can keep raking it as the season goes on. Met pitchers last year in 2019 hit 6 home runs, so maybe we'll get a few taters going on this year. And just want to know if you want to know if the Mets have a home field advantage against the Phillies. We're 56-49 lifetime against the Phillies at Citi Field, aka God's Country. And just keep an eye on Michael Conforto. He's due to break out. And just a note, he is tied for the 11th place now with Ed Kranepool for Met all-time home run hitters with 118 home runs. And he's trying to catch Edgar Fonzie Alfonso, who has 120 dingers lifetime as a New York Met. And Conforto's had 60 homers at Citi Field, so he kind of hits them both on the road and at home, and that's nice to see. And that's about it as far as like previewing today's game. What I'm going to do now is we're going to celebrate the birth dates of two Mets in Met history. The first one is, are you ready, folks? Johnny Stevenson. Who remembers Johnny Stevenson here? Raise your hand. Okay, Johnny, as we all know, was a catcher for the Mets back in the day. And he's one of the few, check this out, he played 3 years for the Mets, and he wore 5 different uniform numbers. How is that possible, you're saying to yourself? Well, I don't know either, but it happened. And Johnny wore number 49, number 19, number 12, number 51, and 32. He was with the Mets from 64 through 66. And then they actually traded him to the Cubs with Rob Gardner, exchanged for Bob Henley on June 12, 1967. Wasn't much of a hitter, had a 196 career batting average as a Met. The highest average he ever had was 215. He had 121 at-bats in 65, 143 at-bats in 66, which is most ever, and he batted 196. As you recall, you might want to take note of this if you're a big minor league fan. Johnny actually managed the following Met farm team. So he was in the system for a while as a Met skipper. He managed the Gulf Coast Mets in 1995, 98, and 99, the Kingsport Mets in 96, and the Capital City Bombers in 97 and 2000. So he was a low-level franchise manager for the Mets in the minors. And his claim to fame was he did have a 2-home run game for the Mets on September 16th, 1965, against the Cincinnati Reds. Okay, now our second player we're going to spotlight and having a birthday today is Ricardo Rincon. Who remembers Ricardo? Okay, it's good to see some of you do remember Ricardo, and that always makes me happy. He wore number 73 with the Mets. He signed as a free agent in the offseason in 2008. And he was basically hanging on at this point because he pitched for almost 10 years in the major leagues and didn't pitch in the majors in 2007. And unfortunately, he didn't last that long with the Mets in 2008. He pitched 4 innings in 8 games, had an ERA of 4.50. So that was Ricardo's claim to fame. And it's happy birthday, Ricardo Rincon. You say it's your birthday, we're going to have a good time. And I hope you guys have a good time. Now, other notes for the Mets on this date, and I know you're waiting patiently. We always look at transactions that happened. And Marlon Anderson, he was pretty popular with the Mets. He was released this day, unfortunately, on April 13, 2009. Blaine Boyer was granted free agency on April 13, 2011. Who remembers Blaine? And then we had Aaron Laffey. He was claimed from the Mets by the Toronto Blue Jays on April 13, 2013. Now, what I like to do every day, if you've been following my podcast, I hope you are, and even on here, I'll be doing this on a daily basis, is we're going to highlight this day in Met history, pick a random game that happened on this day and talk about it. It's not always going to be pretty, and this one's not pretty. It happened on 1983, and it was against the Phillies. And we were actually leading that game, and we blew it big time. See, folks, even back in 1983, we had bullpen problems. We tried, but it didn't always work out. What happened, in a nutshell, the Phillies trailing by 5 runs entering the final frame, beat the Mets 10-9 when Bo Diaz hit a walk-off bases-loaded home run. The Philly catcher's ultimate grand slam, a home run which wins a game, when a team is down by 3 runs and bottom of the final inning is tossed by Neil Allen, who faces the final batter. Now, that was the only batter that Neil faced that day, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. I like to have fun with this guy. I always like to see who was in the lineup, et cetera, et cetera. And just to like rehash all the old names from the past. And this was the Met lineup coming into that game. Mookie Wilson, center fielder, leading off. Bob Baylor, shortstop, batting second. Dave Kingman batting third. At first, George Foster. He's going to hit those planes flying over, Shea. I'm telling you, he's going to. He said so. He's batting fourth in left field. Danny Heap. Who didn't love Danny Heap as a pinch hitter? Good man coming off the bench. But today he started and played in right field. Ronnie Hodges, like one of those guys that shows up to camp every year and makes the team. He played a lot of years with the Mets. So he's still with the team in 1983, and he got to start behind the plate. And he actually batted again in front of Hubie Babbling Brooks. Yes, Hubie. Who didn't love Hubie? He was batting 7th today, and Brian Giles, second baseman, batting 8th. And Schwanny was pitching and batting 9th. Now, the funny thing about this game is Swan really didn't have it. He pitched 3 innings, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks. Rick Ownby came in, pitched pretty well in relief, but then he got lit up in the 9th inning, and Jesse Orosco and Neil Allen couldn't save him. Orosco came in and walked the guy, and then Neil Allen gave up the tater. So Ownby's line wasn't that bad, and it looks a little bit worse because of what happened in the 9th inning, but he pitched 5 2/3 innings, 2 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned runs, 4 walks. Dick Ruthven started for the Phillies. He didn't have much. But Dave Kingman was the one. How many people actually think Dave Kingman had a 4-hit game in his career? He did that night. Yes, he did. I'm not making this up. He was 4 for 6 with 2 runs and 2 runs batted in. George Foster, 0 for 6, but that lowered his average to 300. So George was actually hitting pretty well coming into the game. And as far as with the Mets coming into the game, they were 2-2. The Phillies were 3-3 coming into the game. The Cardinals were division leader at 3-1. So it was early in the season. Teams were feeling themselves out. Danny Heap went 3 for 3, 3 runs on RBI and 2 walks. So that was good putting him in the lineup, and that raised his season average up to 667. Hubie Brooks, 3 for 5, running an RBI, and Brian Giles, 2 for 5, 1 run batted in. And I'll run down the Phillies because these guys were a little bit past their prime at this point, but it was a pretty solid lineup. You had Pete Rose leading off in right field, Gary Matthews batting second, Sarge, Joe Morgan batting third at second, Mike Schmidt batting fourth at third, Tony Perez, the first baseman, batting fifth. Now, what a lineup this would have been if these guys were in their prime, but they were at the tail end of their career. But the Phillies, if you recall, 83 wasn't a bad year for them, so they hung tough. Von Hayes, center fielder, batting sixth. Bo Diaz, always a thorn in the Mets side. He was the big hero. He was batting seventh. Ivan De Jesus batting eighth. So that's our little wrap-up for the Mets on this date in Met history. Now, I know I teased you before with the trivia question. I said Jeff McNeil is a lifetime 367 hitter, 55 for 150 against the Phillies. There's only 2 Mets who were tied at the top with a 383 batting average with a minimum 100 at-bats against the Phillies. Now, I asked you to lock in your answers, and I sure hope you did because I'm ready to reveal the answers. And if they're not locked in, you're not getting credit. I give you plenty of time to lock in your answers. Wink, wink. Okay, the 2 men who have a 383 batting average against the Phillies with more than 100 bats in Met history are Asdrubal Cabrera and John Olerud. Who'll ever forget that walk-off home run Asdrubal Cabrera had? So that's it. That's our trivia question of the day. That's kind of going to wrap things up for today. Don't forget, get in front of that. And if you're lucky enough to go to the game today, enjoy yourself. There's nothing like a Met game at Citi Field. I just got my second COVID shot yesterday, and now I have to wait 2 weeks. I hope to be there for the Boston series. It pains me to be sitting at home watching all these games on TV, but I'm doing the right thing, and I hope you are too. And hopefully we can all be at Citi Field at one time this year or another. That's it. Check in tomorrow. And if you like these YouTube casts, please subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. If you have comments, leave a comment. And if you're not part of the new Facebook group I created, Met Baseball Way of Life, please do join if you're a Facebook member. I'm going to make it as good as can be if you're a Met fan. So that's my mission in life. Uh, and like I said, if you like this video, hit like. If you dislike it, I could take the criticism, dislike it. And if you ever want to reach me, I'll try to respond to all your comments, my email address, and I'll respond to you. If you have something on your mind you want to talk about, maybe want to hop on one of these broadcasts, it's PHILSTAN41@gmail.com. That's it for today. Again, Met fans are the best fans, and you are the best of the Met fans. So enjoy your day, play ball, and let's go Mets.